for the challenge. The fan vote's still favoring them, though, as we go into it at 64 to 36%.
Should be a pretty fun one here on Oregon, guys, so let's get right into it. But yes, sadly, this match doesn't have the most on the line for these two squads. As you guys heard John just talk about, this is mostly going to be for seeding points, so we'll just have to see how it goes. DarkZero does have quite a few recent maps of this in, well, recent history, but the two most recent ones, not the most favorable. As you guys just heard, Team 1 beat them 7-2, but just before that, inside of Stage 1 of the NAL, XSET actually beat them 7-5, and well, it doesn't look like FURIA wants to play any games with Blitz today.
No, so that's been like a main pick for DarkZero if you're out of the loop at this event for some reason. They've been bringing Blitz, and there is a reason for it. We're just not going to go into that right now. So they're going to choose to get rid of that to put DarkZero into an uncomfortable position. Nomad going to be the other one. We see her get banned out pretty targetedly in other maps, but not so much for Oregon. So that's going to be an interesting pick. Still has a lot of viability to it. Don't get me wrong, but it's not what we usually see here on Oregon.
Yeah, this is also going to be the first ban time, at least for DarkZero, the first time that they ban Nomad, excuse me, as they've actually been banning Ashe the most on this map. They banned her 4 times, Ying twice, and Yana once, and they're going to follow that up with a Valkyrie ban, which that's more par for the course.
Valkyrie's kind of like the defender ban punching bag right now, so that's par for the course. Lamai's the other punching bag right now as well, so everything following normal trends in that respect, as both of those are going to be gone, and like we said, they're sitting pretty high on the ban percentages right now, so that's not too surprising to see them go. That's been a pretty common trend. You know, attacker bans are just kind of up in the air right now. You never know what you're going to get in a lot of matchups, and in some cases we're getting a lot of target bans, but defenders have remained fairly straightforward for the most part over the past few months.
Well, with that my ban, that will follow suit here for FURIA, but now taking into account all of the bans we have here and what's available, everyone's probably staring down the ban list and going, well, they're going to have access to Thatcher. I mean, like, how's this going to go now? Well, they have access to every single hard breach as well as Thatcher on top of that. No Maverick bans, no nothing coming through, simply worrying about the Blitz rush down potential for DarkZero, which makes sense to me for FURIA. They're going to be starting on defense. They don't want to worry about it early on inside of this half. They want to try and get as many defensive rounds without some crazy Clown Fiesta type stuff happening to them. But as for DarkZero and the Nomad ban, I like this a lot as well. I think they want to try and make sure that they can get some rotations off on their defense, but we'll just have to see on down the line. But what you have to know is this is a huge effective thing over the hard breach and how this is going to go, especially for, well, like the top floor where you're going to have access to things like the attic wall as well as master.
Now, despite Thatcher being let out of the penalty box for one of the first times in this event, we're not going to see an immediate pick come in here for DarkZero, choosing instead to rely more on the hard breach utility itself between Skies and Eclipse, as well as that extra intel coming out from mid on top of your usual Zofia and Ashe picks for soft destruction. That will more than likely come into play here later, as in my opinion at least, this site can be dealt with without a Thatcher, as we've seen a couple times throughout this tournament. It's just obviously going to be a little bit less straightforward due to having to more accurately deal with things like the Banshees as well as the laser gates set up near the site.
Yeah, we talked about this a long time ago on a broadcast, but Thatcher is basically, do you want to play easy mode siege or hard mode siege? That's what it is. And with him on the field, yeah, you can still use him, but everyone's used to playing without him anyways, so it's not that big of a deal really when it comes down to it, unless you're bringing him for a sole reason, which DarkZero seemingly don't want to do that, and obviously that's their choice. The biggest thing here for them, though, is them bringing Lion along for the ride on Mint. This is actually the first time that they've played Lion inside of their offensive lineup in Oregon.
Lion's been an operator that's been trending up a lot today. I made a little gap in the analysis. That's about how FURIA had been using it, but apparently it was FaZe that extended into the use of it as well. And now we're even seeing DarkZero factor this into their lineup for their last game here in the group. So definitely seeing his pick percentage trend up pretty heavily today compared to the rest of the event, or at least the event that I've been able to scout out so far. Now, Lenda going to be the first player in the way of this attic clear should we see DarkZero commit to it. Also, to a certain extent, seeing him get in the way of the walk-in closet push as well there. Lenda, by far the most dangerous player on FURIA in their most recent matchup, just the last game, of course, against FaZe, so certainly going to be something that DarkZero have to watch out for.
A lot of respect here from FURIA. That's what DarkZero doing with Attic. They walk back the utility, pick up the deployable shield, place it back inside of Dorm. So DarkZero will have free reign, at least, over the initial parts of Attic. Guys with some good drone intel will allow DarkZero to start pushing forward here as they begin this pincer maneuver. It looks like this might be a standard plant, but they still have to worry about possible rotations downstairs from Fantasy, as well as what seems to be rare inside of Security. As well as you can see, FURIA have indeed prepped the default plant spot inside of games, so DarkZero will have to look to greener pastures.
DarkZero still looking for the correct option to work their way into this site, dealing with the split between the attic as well as the connector positions as well. This is another factor that DarkZero are eventually going to have to contend with, and it's that rotate from Fantasy, working its way all the way through Laundry Stairs. DarkZero have someone to watch this right now, not necessarily in the specific position where they need to be watching, but at least in the area. And what's this? Skies walking right in, making a plant attempt. He's going to commit to it too, but unfortunately, Highs has a Nitro Cell prepped and ready to go to counter that out before it gets fully stuck to the ground. Fantasy now allowed up the stairs as well, waltzing right in. He will get traded by an unexpected position from Hyper, and he tries to carry that forward, punishing the white player, but no success there. NJR now going to make another attempt at the plant, and Miracle just chucks the smoke down. We'll see if it bleeds through. It does, as NJR has to go off that position and plant in a different spot. Eclipse takes down Rare. Highs back in the site now to down another one, and Furia mopping up the shop here as they clean up those last members of DZ to take round one.
Very well done from Furia. The clear from DarkZero doesn't work out. They don't have any insight as to what's happening on this roam game, and Fantasy makes a huge play to put a knife right in the back of DarkZero, although he does get refragged immediately, but that makes a huge issue for DarkZero. They now don't really know what's going on. Is there more people coming on flank? Where they're essentially coming from? They try to go for an offsite or a shift in their plant spot, but that doesn't work out either. And the difficulty with that, especially being that Furia had all of the utility to handle that situation. They continually smoke off the plant spot as well as get a pick with the Nitro Cell. It was just all for naught from DarkZero. Yeah, they're able to try and get an execute off, but not having the opening frag really changed up the game plans.
Take a look here, see how the second defense is going to go for Furia, as they're bringing a lot of the same notes we generally tend to see on this basement defense site. Interesting that we get both the Mira and the Goyo. From my experience, you tend. What's up?
I actually got an update for us. Breaking. Hold on, if I can steal a bit real quick. Breaking news real quick. First team eliminated from SI 2021, CAG, Cyclops Athlete Gaming, are now knocked out, John. We will no longer be seeing the Japanese squad.
Well, thank you very much for that update from the Rainbow Six News headquarters. Back to our normally scheduled program. All right, let's get back into this round, folks, as we're going to be seeing Furia look for a second defensive round consecutively here in round two. DarkZero, of course, will look to challenge that, bringing a lot of the same notes, but one very obvious addition to the team is going to come in Skies, and the fact that we brought the Ying, which is, for some teams, become a bit of a mainstay against basement attacks due to how much access it can potentially give you if those Candelas go out, being able to swing down the electrical hatch. Now, that's a good drone from NJR there as well. Got to give them a lot of intel on their initial clear from Small Tower.
Oh, Fantasy might be in more trouble than he actually is aware of. Furia going to be setting up some, well, it looks to be traps around the map here, at least with that Nitro Cell on the top of main, waiting for someone to come and clear that, as we've seen a lot of squads do. Usually take control of this top floor, transition it over to a main stairs take, and start to clear out that bottom floor just with that verticality. That's something that's been around in Oregon for so very long, and the angle has not changed with the map update. So still will be abusing that as much as possible to make sure that no one can rotate up that area. And actually, Highs will open up the hole for Mint. So now Mint just gets to freely play the staircase. Look at that. Thank you so much, Furia, for doing that for the DZ members.
Oh, Mint. Now going to be taking up that position to make sure there's no aggressive re-swings for anyone on Furia. Furia actually remain relatively mobile right now, as they've caught on to the fact there's probably not going to be a whole lot of freezer pressure, so they rotate a large majority of those players out into their more standard positions to hold against the construction push, which does seem to be the way that this is slowly broiling. Here, Eclipse, of course, beginning to analyze the options from inside of Electrical itself, but here's the problem. Highs does have the capability to deny these X-Kairos, but does not want to try and peek that angle, so ends up letting it go through. Fantasy now going to have to play with that hole in the way, assuming that it did go off there, and we'll have to deal with that.
Okay, so DarkZero so far so good. They've gotten the clear down. Sky's taking a little damage, but I think that's just from the holes that they made with the X-Kairos there. Fantasy giving a little bit of trouble, but possibly some trouble coming back onto Furia, but seems like they're aware of the barrels player, but Hyper just better in this situation. Fantasy steps out too far and gets dealt with quickly. EE1D locking down the smoke, but Hyper doesn't look the right way. Oh, follows through. The man tracks insanely well, but finally Furia bounced back in a convincing fashion. 2 big kills to bring us down into the 3v3.
Furia holding on here, more than likely going to try to play this out on the timer with these aggressive swings showing up and forcing more respect to come from DarkZero. In this circumstance, the form of extra droning that's currently being done by Skies to ensure that that B site that they're aiming for is going to be open for the taking. It appears to be so, but the drones don't really extend too far beyond the site, and that could be problematic if DarkZero push in, not aware of the potential risks. But they're a smart team, they know exactly what to expect. However, still, we're going to see Skies, Hyper, and Lenda trade blows. Rare, now the last player standing, brings it down to a 1v1. Hyper, ready for the challenge, though, knows exactly where the player is going to be positioned from, but does Hyper now have the time to get the plant? He's going to go for the frag instead, but the pre-fire is in the wrong position. Rare is ready for the challenge, and Furia take the 2-peat.
What an insane round there by Furia. DarkZero able to get the entry kills, but they rebound, especially inside of Freezer. What a play from Rare there to lock up DarkZero. I didn't think he had it going into that final moment there for the 1v1. The concussions come through. He's on very low HP, but still has the angle there. Hyper just not working that enough. Goes to the outside and ends up getting taken down. But either way, DarkZero not finding any of these executes right now. Very, very difficult offenses.
Going to take us to the full breadth of the Furia defense here as we extend to the third and final point on their site triangle. If you're newer to Siege, just a reminder that when defenders win sites, they are locked for 2 consecutive rounds, meaning that after this one, we are going to see Furia's first site that they won unlock for play, and they can begin re-rotating through the sites they already won. This one, of course, going to be the most difficult in my opinion, just due to the wide range of positions that the defenders need to play from. Not always able to guarantee trades for your teammates, leaves you in a somewhat exposed position in the early round where DarkZero might be able to catch an advantage here.
Really up to the clear on this one. Obviously, being the last site on their site triangle is going to be their sort of off site. And this one does work in a very weird way in comparison to the rest, and the fact that you can transition through meeting through multiple ways, whether it be through the top attic or dropping down into the basement. It just makes for some weird stuff that could possibly happen. But DarkZero have a couple of different opportunities here. One being take control of that complete top floor, or just simply hold something down on attic while they try and go for a stage plant. And this is where these kind of different opinions come in on this site. We've also seen some plants inside of kitchen as well, and just watching it simply from above on the dorm's hatch. So lots of different ways to work this bomb site for DarkZero. It's up to them on how to act.
DarkZero already off to a booming start here as Miracle has been found. That's the smoke on Furia now gone from the party as well here, so none.
Oh, in sight. He's in sight.
Brought out. How did he die?
He's to your left, right there. Oh, he shot. Is that a soft wall? Go to the white wall for tower. He shot him through the soft wall. Oh no! That is so unfortunate for Miracle. So unfortunate. Yeah, man, I got eyes like a hawk production. Don't worry about it. It's all good. It's all good.
Oh, a good start for DarkZero, to say the least, as there's a possibly random kill against Miracle. I'm assuming there was a drone to give them at least a yellow ping in order to make that happen, but could have also just been a pre-fire through the wall, in all honesty. We didn't see it on screen, so we're never going to know until we check the replay. But either way, an impressive one from DZ. And now we get to see if they can push this envelope even further here. Nate's being prime. Mint nearly losing his head as a result. That behind, nearly losing his entire life. Survives it just barely, though, with about 25 HP, and is going to continue to be a problem for DZ on that second floor position.
Well, it is going to soften up one of the defenders and make this gunfight a little easier on these DarkZero members. Sky's getting a little caught off guard by that breaching round, but makes it to where he's going to have some more room to breathe. They take down one member. That's high as nowhere. Another one is at the back of dorms. NJR on point so far. Mint playing out of white as well. Concussions in. This is being so well handled right now by DarkZero, but finally Lenda, Fantasy, as well as Rare step up to the plate, but Rare's the one to fall. It's all left up to Hyper up here, but Fantasy's got him with the pistol. Oh, this is so very impressive. right now. It's actually Skies that he takes down. Hyper skippered back into the site. It's the prone angle for Fantasy, and he's sending him straight to Fantasy land with all of these. Impressive stuff so far from him holding down this top floor. It's up to Eclipse, the clutch man himself for DarkZero, to hold back Furia in this 1v2. He's ready for the prone angle down to the 1v1 with no case control.
Fantasy with a solid 2.5 kills there, nearly taking down Eclipse as well for the triple, all with the hold upstairs. As Sam had mentioned there, DarkZero currently not with any case control, but that should be an easy fix as it's in position on the second floor. Just
Super
a simple
smart
walk for Eclipse, be able to pick that up. Opens up the hatch though, another angle of play, and more importantly, another angle that Lenda has to watch out for. You'll know by this point,
oh my
he's not even worried about the objective as he's got rips the head off of Lenda and finally puts DZ on the board.
You want to know some big brain stuff?
What?
That wasn't for the hatch. That he shot it on the floor and then activated it so he couldn't hear him because X-Kairos whined for so long. If you guys didn't know, X-Kairos have the longest fuse time of any hard breach in the game besides secondary hard destruction now, because obviously. But Hibana's X-Kairos are quite loud, and it works like anything else in this game nowadays. If there's loud noises going on around you, that makes it to where like things like footsteps and that aren't as clear. And obviously Eclipse abusing that to the nth degree. That was just immaculate gameplay. I can't say anything else about that. Great round there from DarkZero, but even better from Eclipse to clutch that up.
Eclipse, by far one of the most clutch players from DZ throughout this event, and more importantly, one of the most consistent ones across all of their games. Really only 1 to 2 of their matches so far where he's been a relative non-factor. Aside from that, he's had major contributions to multiple rounds being won for DZ over the course of their matches so far.
Well, let's just doing a quick rundown here to see if we did actually have any of the DarkZero members at the top of our leaderboards or any of the stats that we keep a track of, but not that much.
Gonna work on Sam's audio there, folks. Apologies for that. Just a little spike in our server, I think. So we'll give that a minute to settle and we'll get Sam's point and make sure that things are good before we allow him back to the caster. He'll have me for the time being, though. Hopefully just a second or two here as Furia set up upstairs, going to be re-attempting, or I should say, going back to this site now to try and pick up a third round for themselves and keep this defensive half rolling in steady fashion. For DarkZero, of course, they're looking to stop that, and they're bringing a very similar lineup of operators. Actually, tripling down here on the soft destruction as they swap Min out. He was the one that was on the Lion in previous rounds, and now we're going to see that be removed and the sledge added for that much additional hard breach. We continue to work our way into this round. We've already got the small tower clear complete for DarkZero, and it's about clearing out the roam at this point from the inside of Kitchen. 2 players from Furia inside of that position, ready to fend off this assault from DZ, but are they truly ready? That is the ultimate question here as DarkZero sits on the precipice, and I think we got Sam back with me here now. I think he's all stabilized.
I believe we're good to go. Can you hear me clearly? Am I good? Okay, awesome. Okay, guys, so what I was going to talk about there for a split second, DarkZero really not showing up on the leaderboards inside of any of the stats that we track and what we're used to seeing from the squad with high ratings or high clutches and things like that. It's just not really happening for this squad at this event, as stark contrast as to what we saw inside of their region. So a little worrisome, but DarkZero just trying to figure things out, and we'll see if they're able to do so. As we're about halfway through this round, as you guys heard John talking about the clear downstairs in Kitchen, this looks to have been going pretty well as I'm getting updated on my information in here, but DarkZero seemingly stunted at, well, the shower's elbow as of right now. Quick move up the security hall, and Eclipse with the first blood, or actually second, excuse me.
Miracle with a very exposed position there for a moment as well. Thought we were going to see some play lead into it, but he goes back to his top-down angle instead. Gonna get caught by a drone, I believe, there, though, so we'll have to be careful as there might be someone from DZ aiming at him as they cross that. He actually backs away from that, takes the safer path. So we take a look at Eclipse's position here, still working on opening up the attic double, leading across and closer to the site, but with a minute still to go. Plenty of time to deal with that, and of course open up the options for DZ to work their way forward. Furia, though, very much prepared to fend that off, as Lenda is going to have the Maestro, and more importantly, the Alda that comes along with it to stop the push from that direction. I'll be relying upon Miracle to ensure that the big window, and of course the main dorms, doesn't get overwhelmed. He's potentially fighting off 4 different players right now, so this is a tough task for for Miracle, to say the least, and the rest of FURIA by extension. Skies will finish him off. Nothing that Miracle can do there. Just far too many players overwhelming him, and things are going to continue to get worse here for FURIA. Highs left alone, tries to get the angle for a Nitro Cell toss, but ultimately just taken out by Mint, leaving only the Alda in the fight, and it's not going to be that way for very long. A beautiful attack from DarkZero as they pick up like a flawless round on the 4th.
What a bounce back there. I hope that I'm coming through clearly and not doing anything to your guys'.
We're going to cut Sam off there again. I apologize, my friend, but we'll try to get him back in here as quickly as possible. DarkZero with some slow, calculated play. More importantly, good drone usage to find the glaring issue in the defense from FURIA, and that there was really, especially in that late portion of the round, only a single player fending off both the White Stairs push. To be fair, you did have Lenda kind of supporting that from the inside of the Kids Dorms, but I think was more focused on the attic push at that point, so couldn't really help. And then on top of that, had to also watch out, this is from Miracle again, the big window play as well. So just a little bit too much for him to deal with in that scenario there. DarkZero take that down. They then have 2 different angles to push into the site from, and unfortunately the overwhelming odds push past Lenda from that point, allowing for success to roll in for DZ. Now we're going to go into another basement defense for FURIA. Had some great results here. DarkZero really struggling to get themselves down into the actual basement, so we'll find out if FURIA can maybe net themselves a 3rd round here, as they've got 2 left. Still a possibility for a 4-2 half here, which generally either that or a 3-3 is the way we usually tend to see these Oregons trend. But however, SI's been flipping a lot of these maps, so may still be hope for a full-on comeback from DZ, and they could also take that same score line, since we're now tied, obviously, at 2-2.
5 seconds remaining.
Oh, as we get into the round itself, we are going to continue to see this action unfold. And Rare on the Clash now going to add a new element to this one for FURIA, possibly some aggressive play on the back of small tower, or big tower, excuse me, as well there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see if we can get Sam back in here, and Sam, you with us?
John Smith, are you with us? Hi. You didn't even say the name right, man. You gotta say Sam Stewart. I gotta come out of the closet and scare her. There you go.
I don't know if you prefer your name or your alias.
Dude, I mean, I don't care. You can call me whatever you want to call me, all right?
You're just kind of flipping between both. Either way, we're going to start to see some pressure get deployed here from DZ onto that big tower position. Now, of course, Lenda supporting the Clash. This is going to be a new wrinkle that DarkZero are going to have to work with. Quite a bit of utility probably going to need to be deployed in order to force these players back. Now, no Lenda is supporting it also. On top of the fact that there's still like that usual stairs Banshee, so DarkZero have to be careful in terms of how they choose to handle this. They use too much to push back Rare. They may not have enough to get onto the actual site.
Yeah, and I think that's why we see them taking their time right now, especially with Rare pushing so far up the tower stairs. They're well aware of what that Clash is doing, and more than likely that there is a change in game plans right now for FURIA. So trying to get as much insight and onto this site as possible, especially with the highs also being ward, and they need to be aware of that because it looks like they've made an adjustment for Mint here onto the Twitch, and he's got smoke grenades along for the ride. So if they try to block off some LOS, they're more than likely going to run into some issues with those goggles. But now it's down to DarkZero to start clearing up this utility on site so they can get this execute to go off.
Located a bomb.
A little over a minute remaining. DarkZero trying to start putting some pressure in on their push avenues, primarily by Freezer here. You could see NJR ready to work down those stairs, but the problem is the dynamic duo between Clash and Lenda now in this position also. No, 2-man team from FURIA trying to fend this off, and wow, that's going to be a late adjustment coming in from FURIA there as well. They remove the deployable shield, put it down in the hallway to allow their smoke or another player to take a more aggressive angle against both the Laundry and Freezer swing that's about to come in. This is some very proactive play from FURIA, but it should be working based on the way we've seen this. That's, of course, until the utility comes out from DarkZero. Skies yet again starting this round out with a nice nade frag. We're going to see more follow that through as FURIA can't seem to hold the tide back. The trades favor DarkZero by a massive extent and leave only Fantasy alive in the 1v3. He's going to try to reinsert himself from construction. Does have a way back in, but he can't win the fight against Eclipse. DC take another round and the lead as they go up 3-2 on round 5.
DarkZero with 3 offensive rounds in a row, John. Didn't think we were going to be seeing that one after how this started off. And especially with the adjustments here for FURIA, they're trying to slow down DarkZero with this setup as well as try and fight them back with those smoke grenades and everything else that they could possibly have. I really like the setup there from FURIA with the Clash as well as what they were trying to do with the Warden. It just didn't seemingly work out for them. DarkZero are still able to work their way around the Clash, get around the Warden, and most specifically get around the smoke. There was a lot lot of different things going into that mixed bag there for DZ, but they're able to batter back FURIA in every single facet. So laundry room supply going to be the next site, and as well as a FURIA timeout coming in.
Now, they've been trying multiple sites now and haven't been able to find success. So this is as good a time for a pause as any here to figure out what exactly has been going wrong, specifically in those late round scenarios. I talked about that on the analysis desk for their game that they just played before this versus FaZe as well, but they're finding great control usually inside of the early round and either finding picks against DarkZero or outright slowing them down to drain time. The problem is they can't seem to fend off these more chaotic executes where they lose the initial duels and then have to communicate about the type of control that DarkZero has taken from that point forward, often losing more players than is necessary, in my opinion, to try and win out those situations.
To be fair, though, FURIA are attempting to get the refrags in those scenarios. It just seems that DarkZero, especially inside that last round, were very prepared for that to happen. Almost every single swing we saw from FURIA went the way of DarkZero, so that's more than likely why FURIA are taking this tactical timeout right now, is because they need to talk about the strategy going into this next round. They already tried the method of slowing them down with the Malusian Clash. That didn't work out. They're moving away from that now. They're bringing the Mira back in, but we're not going to see the Warden.
We are going to see, however, Mint still 6-pick over to the Ying, which is honestly not much of a surprise at this point. We pretty much expect the Ying on these basement plays in order to enable a much faster execute on the electrical drop there. But FURIA will be fending it off just as strongly. Will not have the laser gates though, so the setup over towards that portion of the site won't be as strong, but they'll get other forms of delay, most notably highs going on to the Goyo once again in order to incendiary the floor for a few moments after those shields are destroyed. Save from that though, we should expect a fairly normal basement setup once again from FURIA with no major innovations coming in from the previous rounds.
And this is actually very well read by DarkZero. In fact, they're actually going to get the Ying pick in on 2 of the 3 laundry supply defenses here from FURIA. So that actually could be big game plan change here for FURIA, having to deal with that aggression. But they've went back to what worked best previously. The Jaeger, Mira, Malusi, Goyo, and Smoke set up now downstairs for them. So see if they can possibly delay long enough to keep DarkZero at bay, but especially with that Ying in tow for Mint, I don't see how that's really going to happen unless one of these early picks comes their way.
Well, upstairs clear is first on the docket here for DarkZero, and it is going to be Mint on the Ying, droning things in order to make that possible. NJR kind of off on his lonesome here too, with the drone working his way in from small tower, but the good news for him is there is literally zero threat to his life on that part of the map and probably will stay that way for some time, so he doesn't have to worry about too much. Lenda, on the other hand, is throwing some risks in the way of DarkZero, but Hyper's heard the sound cue. He knows that there is someone here, and more importantly, Lenda, now getting droned out there, gonna have to fall back. Okay, never mind, gonna full swing and commit to the fight. Hyper very much ready for that, and that's gonna be a free kill going by the way of DarkZero at the beginning of the round.
I don't think that opening kill was talked about inside of the tactical timeout, if I had to guess. But a little bit of overcompensation there from Lenda, just not really prepared for a DarkZero member to be so pushed up, not seemingly aware of Hyper's positioning there. So either way, they will lose him very early on as FURIA continue to try and fight for this staircase control on both ends, for main as well as big tower, but obviously losing Lenda in that process once again. That's going to make it to where DarkZero has full control of this top floor now to be able to start working these hatches and everything else in between. But FURIA, as I say that, still so attentive to these engagements around these stairwells.
And a lot of reasons to be attentive. They lose that. That's a huge swath of the basement control going away. More than likely, by extension of losing that, going to have to give up construction control also. So that would easily let the full roster from DarkZero in and be the beginning of their execute. So want to try to avoid that and leave that potential loss of map control until the latest point in the round possible. Another readjustment on the deployable shields coming out here as well. Highs moving one over to Freezer after seeing the obvious pressure from DarkZero start to broil in from that direction. DarkZero does not seem to have been convinced themselves of that play just as of yet, though. You can see a couple people still moving around to take up positions by the laundry push, as well as a few other spots as well. Probably still going to see that pressure from NJR. Roll down on the site in a second, though, as time is getting low. DZ need to make a final decision about where they want to take this, and they need to start beginning to put pressure.
Well, hopefully this pressure comes in form of Hyper. He's shifted gears on over to Bunker, as he's currently manning the door and getting rid of barbed wire, but FURIA Obviously aware of the scenario now as they'll get concussed, aware of Eclipse coming down the back stairs as well, so he'll be taken down from Fantasy. Fantasy still playing Pillar, but not aware of NJR moving aggressively up and to take his place, and now they have control. Able to get a breaching charge into the soft wall as well, so they'll knock that out, as well as be able to hold on to Freezer Hallway. Mint in tow, actually across the map, currently handling Freezer. Candela's in, he's going to fully flash Highs, who has to try and bail out, but no, he's been locked down. Mint downed as well as he gets countered out by Rare. Sky's putting the plant down all inside of the Calamity as Rare's trying to fight back, but Hyper, too strong inside of Pillar, takes round 6 for DZ, and that'll be 4 rounds in a row on offense.
Yeah, DarkZero, a massive rebound after a rocky start in this game on the basement and Kids' defenses that were coming out from FURIA, but some immediate readjustment, and more importantly, some very solid executes coming out from DZ over the course of these final 4 rounds here. The 2 most recent basement attacks specifically were played perfectly. There was a lot of risk going into those, but thankfully due to the efforts on the most recent round, of course, from NJR getting in on those back stairs, it made for a good insertion as well as a good follow-up from the rest of the team, moving in from Freezer as well as Laundry.
Yeah, and it seems like, well, we're going to have Laundry once again. Obviously not FURIA. DarkZero this time, as we will be switching sides. But wow, look at that scoreboard. Hyper 11, 1, and 3, excuse me. And that's something that we expect from this guy almost every single time. But it's always nice to see him popping off for the squad. But DarkZero looking really, really strong inside of those last 4 rounds. It appears that Eclipse has lit a fire under this squad as they finally rebounded here. But we need to see more of that, especially in this defensive side, if they want to take this. As for FURIA's defense, just quite lackluster across the board. Not really able to get the adjustments necessary to take it to DarkZero and what they were able to produce on offense. They got the very first opening kill of the entire match, but then after that proceeded to be the opening death 5 times in a row.
That's not to mention the fact as well that we're still seeing these site setups fall to pieces time and time again due to the consistency of the XQ power coming out right now from DarkZero. So it's definitely something they're going to take a look at. Obviously, hindsight is 20/20. Not much they can do about that now as the sides have switched and they are on the attack. So time to see if this fares them better and allows for that aggression to truly come out and start besting DarkZero. They need to do it quickly, though. DarkZero already with a 2-round lead coming off the attacking side. If we see a solid defense of both their basement and Kids hold, that'll shoot them right up to 6, and they only need 1 more round after that to close out this match.
Yes, indeed, my friend, and well, we'll have to see how this goes. This 90% of the games so far at the 6th Invitational this year have either ended 7-4 or max OT, and we'll have to see if this follows suit. Obviously, we've had, I believe, a couple of 7-2s and I think 2 7-0s as well. So there has been some, you know, some weird scorelines. Yeah, we ended up casting one of them, the SSG game that was a 7-0. But either way, a lot of these scorelines really being the same and showing you how close the contest can be here at SI. Either way, though, minute off the board already for FURIA on their offense as they're just simply working this mid-floor. They need to start getting these hatches open and everything else in between. It's mostly just locking down the staircases and trying to get some insight on DarkZero, the usual stuff that we would expect from the offensive roster. But just looking at the team as of right now and the lineup that they are bringing, it's kind of a big change-up from what we saw from DZ, especially in the likes of Thermite being alone.
Obviously, this is change up to the status. And important to note, too, you know, Thatcher is not banned right now. I know I mentioned this in the first round. I just want to bring it up again. I don't think we ever saw it get picked by DarkZero. And if
no, we did not.
It was, yeah, so no picks on it from DarkZero. And it looks like FURIA are taking that same path as they're also not going to bring it. I think that's really interesting that we see both teams not immediately defaulting to that, as has so often been the case throughout Siege's history, to make these attacks easier. DarkZero never once needing to rely on that to help them out in these rounds.
To be honest with you, I think it's just because there's a lack of use of him because of how high his ban rate is, as well as the fact that, like, obviously they changed up his utility and made it to where it doesn't destroy things anymore, it only disables them. So you actually have to be on solid timing with your squad to get a lot of the things to go off that you do. So that could be another thing that possibly is affecting it. Either that or they just plain don't like it and they're used to playing the, you know, the harder version of Siege. It's really up to them as to what they want to do. But either way, not bringing Thatcher here, and could be a couple of reasons why. FURIA got some good clear, though, on this top floor. They've gotten the hatches open, but now it's down to the load time to execute. 25 seconds remaining as Skies working working some magic on the mirror window. Has the Toxic Babes as well to lock down Laundries. He's currently worried for that, but also a Banshee there. It's all Furia, though, over here inside of E-Box. An immediate drop for Rare as he'll be dropped as well. Miracle trying to be forceful down the staircase. DarkZero all over this engagement. Miracle the final one for Furia as DarkZero will dust him as well. And round 7 slips right nice into the back pocket as I mess up my entire outro.
Yeah, for DarkZero, there is solid hold in the site, and once again for Furia, falling to pieces in the late seconds of the round, not able to push themselves to the inside of the site, more appropriately, not able to trade their way out against DarkZero, an issue that they also faced on their defense, just looking at the 2 rounds before this one that was played out there. So there's the first part of the prophecy fulfilled for DZ. Just need to get that second lockdown on kids and dorms, and they are in a great position to try and sweep this matchup, as it would be 7 consecutive rounds, assuming they go the full distance.
Yeah, that would be quite impressive from DZ. And as you said, they have the opportunity to do it, but it all starts on kids' dorms and what they'll be able to do here. Well, Sky's going to 6-pick off of the Vigil. Switching back and forth in between a couple of different things, but finally lands on the Mozzie. Saw the Goyo there for just a second, but decided to go against it. And definitely not the worst changeup in the world, especially partnered with the Mute. And that could have some pretty large impact as well, since Fantasy has switched things up and brought the Yana, which obviously Mute a direct counter.
We've been seeing a lot of the Yana play come out, specifically from Furia, but quite a few other teams also incorporating her into their lineups. One of the newest operators added to the pool since the last SI. And of course, one of the first ones to come into the season in 2020. Seeing her slowly make her way into the meta, specifically at this event, but in a couple other regions as well.
Yeah, I think purely info-based operators, she's one of the easiest ones to work in because obviously she has frag grenades and you're always going to find use with her, especially in rounds where you have like FURIA gates and stuff like that, because then she's not only info, but you can also clear those gates with her hologram. So lots of different ways you can use Yana, but more than likely going to see Fantasy and Furia, using her as an info bot. So we'll have to see how that goes for them. They'll be starting things off, at least for Fantasy's sake, on the small tower side. Looks to be a regular clear here for them, though, as Heise has already worked his ways up towards Master. Is going to begin work on clearing out the Master bedroom as well as Trophy.
Bomb located by attackers.
See Furia beginning to take a small amount of upstairs control, and more importantly, beginning to work their way through that small tower and cafeteria part of the map. Security, as well as those freezer stairs, being important too, as that's where the extended play is set up right now for DZ. 2 players in position, both by security and cafeteria, and on the inside of that stair position, looking to fend off the early clear from Furia. You've also got Skies on T3 of Big Tower right now as well. That could come into play later on in this round here, as he's going to be looking for opportunities to isolate out players like Miracle, who could get spotted in a moment if they're not careful, and Skies goes to the correct window to spot them.
Oh, Skies. I'll be really honest, guys. I swear, I'm having the biggest deja vu right now. I believe I pretty much dreamed that Skies was going to be in this tower. That was the weirdest moment of my casting career right now for me. Either way, yeah, I honestly thought he was going to get that kill outside, but instead it's Eclipse in sight. Hyper gets a trade onto Fantasy. Scary moments, and apparently I am not clairvoyant like I thought I was. Skies still alive across the board, so that's a good thing, but trades ensuing in the smoke down for DarkZero.
Yeah, the aggressive play coming out there from Eclipse has the right thought behind it, but unfortunately, the members of Fury are just a little bit too far away. Rare going to be able to survive that engagement, still with a pretty healthy amount of HP, about 2/3 overall. So not out and down for the count as of yet. Smoke's going to start to work their ways in here. Rare uses the first of his. No real follow-up on that. Those guys will throw out the Nitro Cell. Still 2 available for the defenders, so look forward to kind of throw that one away and hope that the timing plays out. Obviously not going to be the case this time. Nades also starting to get chucked into the site as well to clear out the ADS hold and hopefully allow some clearance here for Fury to get that second smoke onto the ground to begin the actual push. Very hesitant right now here for Furia, as they are looking for an opening pick but cannot find one, and in fact are losing more and more players in the process of trying to get it. Rare going down, thankfully going to be retrievable under these circumstances, and there we go. Miracle with a nice pickup here against Hyper to bring the DarkZero player count down to 3. A disadvantage for them. But still, with only 20 seconds left, they could very easily turn this around. There's Skies. Lenda moving back into the attic, takes out NJR. Case still down on the ground, and Furia needs to work on that. Mint punishing Miracle as he hops in the window. Just 2 alive here now for Furia. As another kill comes out from them, though, leaves it all on Mint. The Nitro way off base, not going to be able to stop the plant from going down, and that leaves Mint alone in this post plant.
Oh, I've seen this episode before. We'll see if Mint can win it instead of a 1v2 here. No utility, all except for concussions for Furia, but they're not going to need it. A lot cheaper option, just lead as High sends it down range, able to secure the round for Furia. Very well done from them, as it looked pretty bleak as they started to get the push going for trophy trades back and forth from DarkZero. They finally get that pick, but what I want to highlight is Lenda and the patience on that attic push, waiting until the dying moment to actually hop in that window and secure the frag onto the Jaeger. Very well done by Furia on that execute and able to keep DarkZero off of match point.
Much better management of the in-fight mechanics going on there for Furia as well. I've talked to death now about how Furia have been having a lot of problems in the main team fight. That one was probably the best execute we've seen by far on their attack. And even when you consider their defensive rounds, it was probably one of the better team fights they've had throughout the course of this map so far. So really good adjustments there in order to make it happen. Now here's the problem. We need to see it consistently, which we haven't been able to get just as of yet, save for those first 2 rounds. The good news for them, though, they're right back on the same site, so it's just a review of the things they just did for the most part.
And once again, we have something that we talked about earlier in the day for Furia. Fantasy switching off of the Ashe onto the Yana, and they secure their first offensive win. So it feels like Yana is really, really solid for this team and just how they want to work their offenses. Obviously, everyone loves Ashe and she brings so much utility to the table, but it feels like they're just getting more mileage out of the Yana right now, as well as Lenda on the Zofia. Had him on Sledge the first round, switch him over to the Zof, finding some effectiveness now for them. Now, just remember, a previous site obviously being Laundry Supply that they played into. Sledge, not the greatest for that. He can obviously get some verticality done if he wants to like pop the main stairs or something like that, but no true verticality onto the site in that scenario, so Sledge not going to be the best pick.
Let's see how Furia manages things without that operator being brought into the fold. Still going to see the usual suspects, however, here. 3 hard breach is still a little heavy on that from Furia, but it could be very much useful in the long run of things, especially if they're going to continue losing the initial frag. Now, that last round, obviously an exception to that due to DarkZero's own aggressive play, but having that extra bit of it certainly not going to hurt under these circumstances.
Yeah, and as well as like the Thatcher pick, honestly, doesn't make a lot of sense for me right now. Because they are bringing smokes on the Thatcher, and that's something that not only Ace has, but Ace just has a better gun as well as arguably better hard destruction than Thermite does. Obviously, Thermite blows open the entire wall, and nowadays you only get the hop hole from the Selmas, but still, Ace is one of those characters where if he's open, 90% of the time teams end up taking him just because of how potent he is. So I'd like to know why the Thatcher pick comes through here, but either way, still going to be able to get the job done with what they have at their disposal. Just simply worried about the hard destruction and possible picks happening early on for them, as well, we have Highs currently sitting on top of the building waiting for any peek possible here on Big Tower.
Could ultimately just be coming down to a personal preference at the end of the day for Rare there, or maybe they want a cleaner hole to work their way in from areas like walk-in. Couple of reasons why, but it's relatively semantical in my opinion at the end of the day. Lenda still lined up, dealing with the first laser gate on the connector door from main stairs. But oh, NJR, he's stunned out, but that doesn't matter. Gonna find a clean first kill, knocking out the Maverick, and there might be more in the future here. 2 players right around the corner from him.
Oh, well, it's a good thing they brought 3 hard breaches because they're starting to lose those as well. Fantasy with a big frag here gets a lot of damage onto Eclipse, but he'll be able to work his way back into sight. Mint with a nice rotation takes down Fantasy on White Stairs. They didn't have the flank watcher, any supporting angle for him. He was off on his own island, as now Furia seem to want to try and hop inside of White Stairs. It's Mint now pre-firing, holding down the staircase, prepared for any Furia member here. Seems like they want to make an adjustment, though. Miracle going to hold on to White Stairs as Rare hops up top, starts smoking things off, but Mint wins out the gunfight up against Miracle over on White Stairs. Now down to Rare, being the only remaining Furia member to try and stop DarkZero from reaching match point.
Rare hunting past the soft destruction, but unfortunately not much to find due to the walls still being in play. as he tries to look for some way to get into this big window. More importantly, looks to scan the surrounding horizon here to ensure he's not going to get immediately headshot upon jumping in, but not going to have to worry about the headshot. Has to worry about the gas now blocking the doorway, as this round's impossible for him. Just going to let this timer run out. DarkZero are going on to match point. It's a 6-3 scoreline in front of us now.
So DarkZero, well, more specifically NJR, let's be honest. That round was moving extremely slow on both ends. No real roam game going on for DarkZero. FURIA just trying to figure things out, see how they really want to try and be forceful onto the site. But DarkZero are the ones that take the reins and run with it. NJR gets concussed, but still gets the frag, able to follow that up as well, but eventually gets caught off guard by Top White. But DarkZero also had that box checked as well. So every play that FURIA made inside of that round, all for naught. And that's truly what ended up making it so very difficult for them. Even with the pick onto NJR, they were still man down, as well as quite a bit of utility missing at the end of the day.
So let us see how exactly DarkZero look to round this game home, and it's going to be on a basement site defense, one that they've already been able to take home for themselves, seeing they've needed to replay that upstairs site additional time. They can now go right back towards it, had no issues whatsoever at handling things on this site previously, so that is going to cause some problems for FURIA, as they're going to have to find the winning strategy now, the winning adjustment to be able to take not only this site, but the 2 rounds that will follow after that. Otherwise, they're staring down the barrel of another loss here, in DarkZero will be getting that 1 additional point. Quick reminder, folks, as far as we're aware, no major play-in contentions on the line for this matchup here. Both of these teams, regardless of who wins, more than likely going to be staying in the same overall position for coming out of the group with the lower bracket for the playoffs. But what will be changing is the potential seedings between these 2 teams.
Okay, well, looks like DarkZero do want to change things up on this defensive lineup. They're going to have Hyper just away from the Aruni and onto the Warden, just to be able to use those goggles up against any smokes, or through their own smokes as well, via, well, their own smoke. So we'll see if Skies and then we'll be able to duo it out, find some frags early for them for FURIA, or just be able to hold back the execute. Either way, that's more than likely the game plan right now for DZ. FURIA, though, out onto the map and forceful as they're clearing things out. Lenda already in the top floor, worried about a possible roamer, but truthfully only need to be worried about freezer stairs.
A quiet few moments here, as you generally tend to expect at the beginning of all of these rounds, as FURIA just quickly clear things out on the second floor, make sure DarkZero hasn't committed to a really aggressive roam to shut down FURIA. As a reminder, FURIA sitting behind pretty heftily on the opening kill statistics, so these opening moments are incredibly important for them to ensure that they either keep their team at the full 5-member strength, or at minimum, do not lose that player here to DarkZero, making them fight from a 4v5 deficit yet again, which is almost guaranteed a loss in every single round they've gone up against it.
Okay, well, did not expect the silence to slow down at all, and it's going to continue as well. We are inside of that mid-round area where it's a cross between gunfights as well as utility usage to clean things up and try and make getting to site a little easier. But now FURIA with some info of their own. We'll see the Mira that's pointed towards Freezer. This is where we saw Skies playing previously, doing dual duty. Worried about the laundry double door as well as Freezer here, and just playing that quite well. But it seems like, well, they are going to have Mint actually inside of the Freezer Hall on the other end next to the boost box, and he'll be able to get rid of all of these X-Kairos that end up hitting this Mira. So it looks like DarkZero here to stay.
DarkZero continuing to hold on here. No aggressive moves from them as of yet either. They are fully confident in their sight hold, and they've got plenty of reason to be. A lot of success already being gained for them around. Look at this aggressive swing from Min. Walks right up, pops the head off of Miracle, and he's none the wiser. Unfortunately, High's not going to be able to do anything about that either, as a flash still affecting him after that kill goes down. So the first bit of hard breach gone from Fear. The good news is they did deal with the hatches before that player dies, but obviously still dealing with the 4v5 deficit. As I've said, it's nearly meant immediate loss to the round for so many times on Furia. And once again, they have to go up against it. They have to try and change the status quo in these final 25 seconds. And I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do it.
Beauty's in place.
Oh, this is going to be so very risky. Oh, they haven't even seen NJR in the corner either. Eclipse currently battling out to barrels here from Bunker. Finally gets taken down from E-Box. NJR worried about it, not able to secure that kill. Fantasy finally cleaned up as it's all down to Lenda on the Zofia. Lenda been playing pretty well today, but you got to do it with 1 second remaining, and I don't see that one happening. It's going to be a participation trophy kill onto Hyper as Lenda saved the KD, bro, says Skies, is DZ practically with a master class here on Oregon.